First of all, thank you so much for talking to us, Margaret. You are here in Odense because you've been awarded the Hans Christian Andersen Award at 84.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still the same feelings that you get from winning awards and getting that recognition as when you were younger?
No. Why? Because nothing's the same. So if you were still the same person at 84 that you were at 20, you'd be a vampire.
Why did you get here for exact this award? I guess that you get a lot of awards. Why did you come to Odense for receiving this?
I'm trying to find that out. It's supposed to be for a writer whose work resembles Hans Christian Andersen. So it's true I've written a number of fables, and they're probably also looking at the Handmaid's Tale, the Testaments, Oryx and Crake, that Mad Adam series, as being somewhat fantastical in the way of Hans Christian Andersen. It might be because I've always been interested in fairy tales, folk tales. I read Andersen as a child, of course.
And I feel like one of the reasons that they might have chosen you could be that Hans Christian Andersen was known for like portraying society and inequalities in society through his fairy tales.
Yes.
And I would argue that you do kind of the same, pretty much, right?
For sure, that's a good argument.
Why is that kind of literature important? Why is it important to do that? Why not just make up stories?
Well, even if you make up stories, they're still going to have a moral, because that's what language does. So even if it's a story about an alien on another planet, the story is still going to go a certain way, and the reader will interpret that according to the reader's own predispositions. But the novel itself comes from a tradition of social portrayal. That's how it started. It's how it continued in the 19th century, and even when it branched out into science fiction with, for instance, H.G. Wells, it was still doing that. So it was still talking about social inequality. Some people were like this, other people were like that. And why does the little match girl die? Because she's poor.
I can hear that you know you're Hans Christian Andersen, but what inspired you the most from his work, in your work and in your life?
Well,
maybe?
I was traumatized by the red shoes at an early age, not only by the story, which is pretty gruesome, but also by this film that came out in 1949, I think, with Moira Shearer. A story about a ballet dancer who dances the Red Shoes Ballet, which is very wonderful. But then she ends up getting squashed by a train. So at the age of 9, that makes quite an impression.
One of the most famous books you did, I got it right here, it's The Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
A lot of Danes know it. It's also a TV series. It's a scary, scary story about how society and democratic systems and also civil rights can collapse, even in...
As we have seen many times in the world.
Exactly.
But America has always thought that it was an exception. Wouldn't happen there.
All this makes me curious about your thoughts about the upcoming election. How are you feeling when you are the author to this story now that we are standing before another election?
Well, it was predictable. As soon as the right-wing religious people in the States started deciding they wanted political power. And they started deciding that in the early Reagan years, which is when I was writing the book. So people who say they take the Bible literally obviously haven't read it.
Yeah.
But the book takes off from a piece of biblical literalism. And if you combine that with a declining birth rate, which was already declining then and has since declined more, you're going to get some sort of formula for enforced childbirth, as in Romania. And it didn't work out very well there either.
Many Danes are looking nervously on this election coming just in a few days. What is your anxiety level at right now?
Well, I'm not a very anxious person, and I don't have the stake in the future that younger people have, because I don't have a very long future. That's just in the nature of things. 20 years from now, I probably won't be alive, but you will. So I think young people are more anxious than older people, but older people are anxious on behalf of the younger people. They're anxious for the younger people rather than for themselves.
Do you feel like
nobody's going to try to get me to have a child?
No.
I'm just sharing that with you.
That's nice to know. But the Handmaid's Tale, do you feel like it was the stop sign that you kind of also said it was kind of when you wrote it back in 1985?
I think it's more pertinent now than it was then. Then a lot of people dismissed it as, don't be silly, this will never happen. Nobody's doing that now.
That's true. And then also last question then is that if you were to write a new Handmaid's Tale,
yes,
knowing everything you know today,
yes,
what would be the main theme? What is your main concern? And should it maybe be a utopia book instead of dystopia?
Well, one thing that didn't exist when I was writing it was the digital information society. So the thing that has changed is it's even easier to track people now than it was then. It would be even easier to wipe out their financial life. As soon as we had credit cards, that became eminently possible. But it's even more possible now. So I think, the surveillance society is much more with us now than it was then.
Thank you so much, Margaret.
You're so welcome.
Margaret, you're done?
I'm done for now. I'm only done for now.